Welcome to the Blueprints to Buildings podcast. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and on this show, we interview the movers and shakers in the world of property development and real estate. So this show is brought to you by PropTech Metaverse Technology, which is a new way that's challenging how developments are visualized, marketed, and sold, and that removes the need for outdated 3D models. So we use this tech to save property developers up to 11% on construction costs, increase off-sales plans, and save between 8 and 12 weeks off concept timelines. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn at Glen Palmer Secure or look in the show notes below. So on today's show, we have a very special guest, Sandra Musselwhite. She is a veteran in real estate investing and a mentor based in Virginia Beach. She boasts 45 years in the industry with a very sharp focus on maximizing returns and minimizing costs. Sandra, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to have you. Such a stalwart in the industry, to have you on the show. So welcome. And I like to start off the show by just asking you a question. You have over 45 years experience as a realtor. So what actually drew you to this profession? And are you as passionate about it now as you were all those years ago?
Well, thank you, Glenn, for those kind words. I've never been called a stalwart, but hey, I like it. Okay. Um, it was an accident, really. My husband had just got out of the service, and I talked him into buying a house 30 miles from the DC limits. And
Yeah.
I had worked 20 miles west, directly inside DC. But when we moved, there was no public transportation and we only had one car. And my boss says to me, I was being groomed to be a director of a lobby association. So,
Oh,
I
wow.
had a pretty good position. So, anyway, my boss says to me, don't worry about it. You can ride with me. Well, he was 28 miles in the other direction. I could just get to DC as easy as I could get to him. So, long story short, I didn't have a job anymore. And I picked up they had newspapers then. I picked up the classified ads and I started looking. And the best job I could get was 5.5 days per week, paying me $10 more than what my babysitter would cost, using a manual typewriter. Oh my God, pure panic set in. So I found this other ad in there. It said, we'll train in real estate, just cost you $20. So I said to my husband, hey, I'll need $20. I can be a real estate agent. Whippy doo He looked at me very sternly. He said, I'm not giving you that money. You got us out here. You don't have a job? I don't think so. So I somehow got the nerve to go back in and tell the people after they were interviewed me once, I don't have the $20. We'll pay it for you. Don't worry about it. So they trained me. I didn't go to school or anything. They actually trained me. I walked into an office full of brokers who'd owned their own business before. I was so lucky, knowledge wise. So
Yeah.
anyway, at that point in time, I failed the test the first time. I was a straight A student. Even in college, I never cried about anything. I cried for days and days and days. And so finally went to the training again, took the test, and at that time you had to actually fill out a settlement sheet for a salesman's license. So I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't an easy test. So I got my license, and the very first weekend I was in the business, I sold 5 houses.
Oh,
They
well
didn't even
done.
have multi then. Well, it was amazing. I look back on it, I said, my God. Of course, I didn't know how to close a deal. I just
Yeah.
showed the people what they wanted. You listen to people say, what do you want? This is what I want. Okay, I know where it is. Let me show it to
Yeah.
you. And, and then I bring them back and somebody would close them and write the contract and everything. But that's how I
Yeah.
got into the business. It was a pure accident.
Nice. So pure
And I
fluke.
loved it.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, that's the right word.
moving on from that. So if time travel became a reality and you had a chance to go back way back in 45 years when you first started that career, what advice would the person you now give to that younger self?
That's an interesting question. I think the answer is nothing. I was very
Nothing.
happy. Yeah, I was very happy doing what I was doing. I loved it. I was very good at it. I was motivated because I had a handicapped son with no insurance, so I had a lot of bills to pay.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought about that. And I don't have anything I would say to that person except, "Good job."
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, that's
So,
just a fairly happy person.
yeah, well, that's the first time. Nearly every single one of my guests have had something to say, except you. So you're the first. So well done.
Thank you.
So with the 45 years, both in residential and investment real estate, what's the one mistake you see new investors make that consistently eat into those returns?
I have two of them. I tried to make it one, but I can't. One is
Okay.
just real basic. They don't charge enough rent,
Right.
and they let people move in without guaranteed rents, which are fairly easy to do, and then they have to evict them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's their income. That's a major mistake. They say, "Oh, I got this great tenant. They're wonderful people. Really? Did you get guaranteed rent?" Well, no, I didn't think it was necessary. 3 months later, they're evicting the tenant. So, that's a major cost. And the other is people
Yeah.
that flip. I think flipping is basically a job. And I don't,
Yeah.
if people don't know what that is, it's basically fixing up a property and reselling it. Um, and then when they sell it, it costs them 12% more than if they had refinanced it and kept it. So right away, they're losing money.
Yeah.
It's a job. And the only person I could see really that benefits is somebody who has a crew that they want to keep working and don't have a job for them. Otherwise, I don't understand it. Why do people do that? Because it's
Yeah.
not that hard to refinance and keep the property and maximize your returns. Because most
Yeah.
property will pay for the rents will pay for the property. So
Yeah.
I could go
So do
on, but I'm
you,
sure you know.
so moving on from that, having obviously you've witnessed multiple market cycles. Where do you see is the greatest opportunity for real estate investors in today's climate, and where do you advise caution?
Well, I always tell people don't risk anything you can't afford to lose.
Yeah,
Even though
wise
I've never
words.
seen anybody lose any money in real estate, it could happen. So I tell them that right up front. If you can't afford to lose it, don't invest it. I think that's very important. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that, um, the markets go up and down. And I've seen in this area that I'm in here, never happened in DC, but here I've seen prices drop $100,000 and then they
Yeah.
go back up a couple of years. But I mean, I think the most important thing, and I learned this from a financial advisor, is to hold on to your property. As long as you've got it rented, it will somebody else is paying for that property. It doesn't matter how much equity you've got.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the monthly income. Hold on. Don't dump it. Because if people are dumping the properties, that's where the investor gets the opportunity. So
Yeah.
I'm advising people on both spectrums, the people already own and the people who are looking to buy. And
Yeah.
distressed property is always the best way to go. There's no doubt about that.
Excellent. Well, wise words indeed. Um, in your region, which is the Virginia Beach area, and
Mhm.
taking into consideration the broader US markets, so what regulatory, tax, or cost pressures are most squeezing investors' margins? And how do you think they should adapt?
Well, they could hold on to the property instead of reselling it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, that's
they
one
would
big
make
one.
but I don't really see too much of that happening around here. The smart investor takes advantage of grants that different areas are offering,
Hmm.
and sometimes even get some of those permits waived. Depends how
Yeah.
much work the property needs and how badly the county or city wants it back into the market available for people to buy or rent.
Yeah.
So they're easy to work with here.
Oh, excellent. So, moving on from that, looking at the technology side of things. So, now obviously, we're living in a world where technology is exploding exponentially. So when you present deals or projects to investors who can't really visit in person, how useful do you think will immersive visual tools like the 3D models, rendering walkthroughs, that sort of thing, how would they be seen in securing a buy-in early?
I think that that depends upon the person. I actually sold 8 houses to a gentleman who I never met and never saw any of the properties a few years
What?
back. So, but he knew, he checked out my reputation. He was very high in the police department in New York City, and he checked me out. And he said, I'd be a fool not to go with you. He actually said that. I said, okay, we'll see how it works. But generally speaking, phones have had videos on them for years. You go
Yeah,
around and take a video of the property, but really doesn't matter what the property looks like. The first thing is the numbers. If you're an
yeah,
investor, you should be looking at numbers before you look at anything else.
yeah.
That's what you're buying.
So
Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
So look at the numbers first, then have a look at the rest of the bits and pieces. If the numbers
Right.
stack up, the rest should fall into place.
Right. We
Uh,
have FaceTime, we have Zoom, we have video cameras on our phones. I mean, there's no lack of instruments we could be using to get
yeah,
the information out there. Um,
yeah.
you
And if
haven't mentioned
you,
artificial intelligence, but I have spent the last 6 months spending at least 5 hours a week studying that.
yeah,
Unbelievable what it can do. But I
I
still
mean,
think the most important thing is personal communication, in person, one on one.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that'll ever change because I think humans desire the need to connect and connect on a personal
Absolutely.
level. Um,
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you had sort of a platform that let you combine the data, the narrative, and that immersive visualization all into that one presentation without losing control over those details, how do you think that would change your pitch deals?
Well, I don't really pitch. I ask people what they want and then I give
And
it
you
to
give
them.
it to them?
Yeah. When I was in residential real estate, I showed people one house. I said to
Yeah,
them, do you want me to show you what you're going to buy, or do you want me to show you a lot of other properties why somebody else buys the one you should be buying? Of course, they said, we want the one we should be buying. And I showed it to them and they bought it. So, it's a matter, again, going back to what does a client want? Um,
yeah,
as far as presentation, without actually doing a closing situation, and I'm talking about one on one, like they say, yes, I'll buy. I'm not talking about a settlement in an attorney's office. Um, Summits seem to be working pretty good. The
mm-hmm.
one-on-one Zoom is good when you get somebody who has more than just a attraction or basic entrance. But before that, I believe in group prospecting. I can talk to more people in a group than I can one-on-one, and I can
Yeah,
eliminate very quickly the waste of my time dealing with people who have no interest, but they need something to do that night. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been doing that for years. But I think as far as computers and artificial intelligence and everything, there's a limit to how much I would do with that
Yeah,
because it takes away from the one-on-one.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I can understand. I can see how the need for artificial intelligence, especially on the sort of property development side, how that can
Mhm.
help people visualize what a project's going to be look like and how it's going to be sold. But yeah, with the other side of the spectrum, which is the sales side, I do think that the personal touch is a better approach, much better approach.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I realized I could probably make 10 times as much money if I was out there on the computer, doing Zooms and doing summits and so forth. But you
mm,
still have to deal with people one on one
yeah.
eventually. So
Well,
yeah,
that
I can see the difference it makes. I ran into one person on a webinar I attended who actually has set up an artificial intelligence system. And I realize we're not really talking about that, but I found
mm,
it fascinating. He has people call him up, and if it's already a client, his artificial intelligence has been fed all his files,
yeah,
and his voice is his. and they interact with artificial intelligence, don't even know they're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know, something a little about that, but hey,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
know
good.
it's scary what you can do with AI nowadays. I mean, you can get to things where you give it a script and you feed it a script. You do a 30-second video of yourself, and it then blurts out this script as you. It understands your how you chat, how your emotional mannerisms, even to the way where it can like lift up eyebrows and stuff. It's scary where we're going with it,
Yeah.
but it's interesting. It's interesting where we are, and so that's it for today's show. Sandra, thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure, Glenn. Thank you for
Absolute pleasure
inviting me.
having you here, learning from your experiences and all your insights. And then finally, thank you very much to the listeners as well. As a reminder, the show is sponsored by PropTech Metaverse Solutions, a new way that is changing how developments are visualized, marketed, and sold, and removes that need for outdated 3D models. If you would like to learn more, please feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. You'll find the link in the show notes below. Um, Thank you very much for tuning into Buildings to Blueprints. But just before I go, Sandra, if somebody wants to get in contact with you, what is the best way for them to get into contact with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, of course,
Yeah.
um, and and then they can email me if they'd like. It's the email is realestateinvestguru@gmail.com. I know it's long, but my attorney made it up and I liked it, so I've used it.
I like it. I like it. Well, thank you very much, Sandra. I'm your host, Glenn Palmer, and we will see you in the next episode.